Welcome everybody to another episode of the Hardscape Growth podcast. My name is Alex from TechnoBlock. Today we're joined by Bob Phillips from Phillips Contracting here in Pennsylvania. The picture we had up here had you riding around in a Jeep going through some mud.
Yeah.
What year is that Jeep, Bob?
82 CJ7.
You were saying it's not all in 82, right?
No, just the frame, that's it. And everything else is a hodgepodge of miscellaneous things.
All right, so Bob, you started your company, Phillips Contracting, in 1999?
Yeah.
Okay. And what brought you to start a company in this business in the first place?
I don't know, I guess, you're a kid playing with Legos. It's pretty much what hardscaping is, and there's cool equipment you can get, dump trucks, so I just pretty much kept on my childhood dream of playing with toys,
Yeah. And you were saying, you're a Techo Pro today. Thank you for being part of that program. And earlier we were talking about how many shows you've been to. You've been coming here for years, right?
Yeah, at least 10 years.
10 years.
Yeah.
So why don't you tell us about the first one you came to, because that's a pretty funny story.
Well, the first one I ever went to, I missed because it snowed. And then I rescheduled, was going to another one, and it snowed again. So we were out plowing for like 48 hours. I got done, my mom called me, and she's like, what are you doing? I was like, I'm supposed to drive to North Jersey to go to this TechnoBlock thing. I have no idea what it's about. And she's like, well, you don't want to miss it. I'll drive you up. You can sleep in the car on the way. So we went, and this guy, Paver Pete's on stage screaming and yelling, and we're sitting in the very back of the room. And I'm looking at my mom, and she looked like a kid in a candy store. She just retired. And I was like, I just got free office help. So I asked my mom, what are you doing with the rest of your life? And she said, I don't know. I said, I'll build you an office above the shop. You want carpet or hardwood floors? And then, it was my lucky day that day. I won a leaf blower. So we just kept continuing through the TechnoBlock program. We became a Techo Pro. We really utilized getting there, the show trailer. We used to do a big display at this local fair. And we really benefited from what TechnoBlock had to offer.
So you've been growing your business for a while now. What's your business look like today? How many crews are you running? How many employees? How many projects do you do?
We have one crew. I've never had more than one crew. I just never wanted that headache because I like being on every job myself. I like participating in the project and getting the jobs. So it's always been one crew. But we've handled. It amazes me sometimes of the scale of jobs that we've completed over the years. We've done large commercial jobs in Westchester. We've done rooftop pavers on country clubs overlooking 18th hole down on the main line. Everything to just, 8-foot by 4-foot sidewalks going from driveway to someone's back door. So really there's no, I guess it's all just, it's all the same no matter how big the job is to me. It's kind of neat sometimes what you can really do with just one crew of people.
One of the things that you did was, well, obviously, you founded the Hardscape Contractors of America Facebook group. Mm-hmm. What made you do that in the first place?
Well, true story is, I was in the shop one night, probably fixing a broken saw or something, and I had a beer or two, and I'm thinking, what are guys in Arizona doing for borders? Because I'm getting tired of the Blue 60 with the Parisian border soldier course. Like, it's getting old. Like, what are guys in Arizona doing? Are they doing something different? Maybe I can get, their ideas. Maybe they're doing some type of mosaic thing. Like, just needed to change it up. And are there certain tools that I don't know about, that are out there? How do I find out about these? And of course, at that point, I guess it was maybe 5 years ago or something. Trump was president, and everything was America this, America that. So I was like, I'll just start this Facebook page for shits and giggles. I'll call it Hardscape Contractors of America. How can you go wrong? And people started chiming on, and it was neat, and it started growing. And then I actually, there's a few questions you have to answer to get on, which most people don't, but I profile everyone. I've looked at pretty much every member's profile to make sure they were a hardscaper, a landscaper. Sometimes it's just as easy as sitting in bed at night and it's like, oh, look, that guy has a picture of a bobcat in his background on his profile. Okay, he's accepted. Every once in a while I may get tired and slip and just hit accept all at the end of the day. So there's some people do slip through the cracks.
But most of the 13,000, you've vetted yourself looking like, are they part of the industry or not?
Yeah.
And that's what brings the strength to the group, because everyone who's exchanging on there is living the same life, basically.
Correct, yeah, absolutely. So that's what I think makes it neat and powerful, is we're just one group of people, just, and it's a thirst for knowledge, really, because it seems like a lot of us, even years and years ago, had a pickup truck and a wheelbarrow, and it's like, how do I make money? And then, it seems like that still may be the same scenario, but there's a thirst for knowledge, and it's pretty neat that people can get that on there.
Yeah.
And, sometimes it is a tough question. People say, how do I charge by the square foot? You get slammed. I mean, you just wrote your own history right there. But, there's some people that slam you for that, but there's other people that do put in good advice. Other questions are, what do you think of this job? And they'll post a picture of it. And I usually send them a private message. Hey, listen, just take everything with a grain of salt, because there's going to be a lot of people that are going to slam you right now. If that's your first job and you're proud of it, continue, follow through, Learn a little bit more. There's a lot. I'm not even going to mention the things on here that I think may be wrong or whatever. You're going to hear about it. So.
But I think that what's cool is the way that you created that group was really about, you were looking for information online.
Right.
There wasn't like a good place to go find that kind of stuff. It wasn't like a good centralized place. So you're like, okay, well, I'm just going to do it. Let's see what happens. And now there's 13,200 something members in it.
Yeah.
People are exchanging ideas. People are asking for advice on how to price jobs, on what looks good, what doesn't look good, what products work well together, what type of equipment people should be buying. Mm-hmm. So like, what are some of the outside of those first two that you highlighted, like what are some of the things that come up a lot that you have experienced in your own career running a business for 20-something years now that you would share if you were asked the question?
I guess one of the main questions is, you get, hey, I'm thinking about buying this used Bobcat. What do you guys think? And it's like, well, I think it's a bad decision, because one, it's every penny you have to get this thing. Two, it's probably whooped from someone else who was in your shoes that bought it and is getting rid of it because it's not the right piece. So, I just sort of try to put people along, because I was the same way. I remember I got my first Bobcat. It was a 773. It was the best thing I ever owned. And it didn't pick up a pallet of pavers. But it didn't matter to me. I bought my first machine. I'm an excavator now, So, so really, I just try to coach people on, if you're going to get a piece of equipment, rent one. Don't be ashamed of it. I still rent equipment, like I guess what Pete was saying earlier about renting a little machine. If you need to rent it, rent it. If you can't afford what you need, then just keep renting until I remember even a mini excavator, I really wanted one. I had to have one, and I just kept renting them until, I sit down at the end of the year, it's like, wow, I've rented one enough that I can afford one now. Like, my rentals are more than my payments, so it's time.
So that's something that you track throughout the year, that you're looking, and your rental costs for that specific piece of equipment. Because it's easy to just say like rentals and throw that in a big bucket, and that's your rental cost for the year. But then you don't know if the Mini X is what you rented the most of, or if it was the Dingo, or if it was the skid steer, or a compactor, or something like that.
Yeah.
So you really got to categorize it to be able to look at what's that total, right?
Exactly. That's like, we have everything set up. It runs through QuickBooks. I mean, you can even handwrite stuff on pieces of paper. Like, this is how often I rented a plate tamper, how often I rented an excavator, yada yada yada. But at the end of the year, even right now, we track what gas goes in what truck. I mean, we're real, to the T with everything like that. And then once you get that stuff down, you can see where your business is making money, losing money. I mean, that's a whole nother monster. But back to the equipment, we went from renting, and then we own equipment now, because obviously I'm getting older now. I guess that's what it means. But we own equipment. We still lease some equipment. we did a lease purchase on another machine. You know, we bought that out, but basically it goes to just get what you need, and if you can't afford it, don't get something that's going to be half of what you want. You know, you have to.
Don't compromise on what you really need for the business.
Yeah, if you want a tri-axle dump truck, don't go buy an F450, you know, and think that that's going to be your tri-axle, because you're never going to, you know.
Never going to get the most value out of it. How do you decide between like renting, buying, and leasing?
That all goes down to numbers in your business. You know,
how do you do it?
How do I do it? You know, I'm a contractor too. I do a lot of gambling. It's like, oh, I got a big snow contract this year, but it's good for so long. I need a wheel loader. You know, how do I make that work? You know, it's sort of just going back and looking at your numbers. It's almost like bidding by the square foot. You know, you can't do it. You need to know where your numbers are at.
Look at the big picture, full year, and then figure out, does this work, and how many hours does this machine need to run? And then you can make that decision. Yeah,
exactly. Like we have a backhoe. One year, you know, I got a backhoe, but I never needed a backhoe, but we got a nice sized snow contract, and they had to have a backhoe on site during the winter. It was part of the contract, so you know, I'm not going to go out and buy a piece of junk. So it's like, what do I do? And we went back and forth, and then we wound up leasing that, and then. Because I was, you know, it's like, well, if the lease was for 5 years, the contract was for 5 years, I'm done. You know, like my payout was less every month.
So you could sync it up with
that. And the contracts were pay snow or no snow. So I figured on an average, and we've been doing snow since 99, I guess. So we kind of know where we're at with our numbers. It all goes back to numbers.
Mm-hmm. Now, if we talk about like smaller, not necessarily equipment, but like tools. Mm-hmm. Let's say, like today we were using a laser level, and we were talking about how to shoot grades and the merits of a tool like that. But there are other things out there like altimeters, like zip level or smart level. What are your thoughts on those pieces of equipment?
Yeah, we have. Nope. I'm not working. We have we have lasers that shoot grades and slopes.
Yeah, mic problem.
Hello.
I
always say, you know, a string line never lies, but a string line can be real slow at times, you know. So we have lasers. I think the zip levels, they're great for quick estimating. I've never really gotten into using one enough to whatever, you know, because we're stuck with our lasers. I guess I'm in my old ways. But the lasers we have, there's certain things I spent money on. One was equipment, lasers, you know. So, you know, we have a TopCon laser, and we have to get it calibrated every year, because one commercial company we do work for, they require that it's calibrated. That it's calibrated every year. They want to see the stamp on the equipment. So that's a bonus, and there's actually a TopCon dealer right in our town. So we take it right to them, and everyone's good.
Should I just switch mics, or guys? Should I just switch the mic? Oh, okay, we're gonna switch your back. I'll talk for a bit. I'll cover you for a bit. Okay, so basically what you're saying is how a laser level is a great tool. It's always very precise. Things like altimeters require some calibration, and there's a little bit more of a margin of error at times. So knowing that, if it's for estimation purposes, you prefer to use an altimeter because it's faster, but a laser level is going to be way more precise in your opinion, in your experience. Another thing you mentioned before we came up here was how you like to use a tool like that even when you're going on a sales call, because just pulling that guy out and putting it in the client's yard, even if the yard is close to level, that has an impact on the impression that you're making on that customer, right?
Yeah, like when you show up, does that work?
Does that work either?
Probably not. Hello? Oh.
There we go.
Like we show up to, you know, when I do an estimate, I have an old laser in my truck, you know, one that doesn't shoot slopes or nothing like that, but sometimes it's nice to have real quick. Just it's like, oh, I wonder if that's a 2-foot pitch or a 3-foot pitch away from the house, or do I have to bring in a lot of lot more stone for this job, or we have to build a retaining wall. But even sometimes, you get good at reading people after you do so many estimates. If you go on the job, it's like, wow, it's like, what can I do to really get these people? Because I can feel I already got them on the hook. I just need to reel them in. It's like, oh, well, let me run to the truck. I get my transit. I want to shoot some grades. I mean, sometimes, you just turn it on and make that little red light spin around. They're like, oh, this guy knows exactly what he's doing. And you got to play the game sometimes. I mean, I'm as honest as they come, but, sometimes it's just,
there's a bit of showmanship in sales too,
And then when it's out anyway, it's like I'll start shooting the arrow. I'm like, oh, I didn't even realize it dropped that much. Good thing I got it out. So it sort of gets you to the next, makes you look a little more professional. Like you're going out of your way for these people. You're just not running out there on a Saturday at 2 o'clock when it's 98 degrees out just to try to get a job, and you really don't want to be doing it. But I mean, that even comes to our estimates now. We charge for estimates. Unless it's a like a solid referral from, we did a job at this lady's house and her daughter wants a patio. That's a solid referral. So I won't charge for that. But I'll, just a lot of our work is referral, but I guess I'm getting old and gas is expensive and all that, so I don't want to go out. Even if I make enough money to get lunch, for the day, that's fine. We don't charge a lot. Just to come out and say hi and take some measurements. We get paid for that. I mean, there's no reason why you shouldn't.
So what did that decision look like the day you decided to do that? Because a lot of people, when we talk about that, they get scared about it because they don't want to have to say no to people.
Yeah, actually, my mom Ellen that works in the office, she's called. Does that work? Hello?
Hello?
Hello? She said no more free estimates. I'm tired of you going out every single Saturday and complaining at the end of the day that you had to do 10 estimates and it's a mess. You hate doing it. So she's like, no more free estimates. I was like, I'm never going to get another job. Are you kidding me? So she's like, well, we'll start off at $25. I'm like, well, why the hell would someone pay $25? Like it's not even worth it. But then, at the end of the day, if you do 10 estimates, there's some money. But I remember one day a lady, she got us off of Facebook from whatever, it's like a Doylestown Facebook page, and she called and I was talking to her and I said, oh, by the way, it's $45 for us to come out. And she's like, are you kidding me? And I was like, oh, here we go. She's like, do you realize I've had six other contractors come out here and not one of them charged me? So I'm thinking right off the bat, I'm number 7 in line for this job. I had never heard of this lady before. I don't know her. It's not a good referral. So yeah, I want $45 to come out to your house. And then she's like, well, okay, when can you come out? And I said, not this Saturday, but the following Saturday after that, anytime after 12. And she goes, you got to be kidding me, right? Because you're going to make me wait and then you're going to charge me for an estimate? And I was like, well, yeah, because we're backlogged with estimates and everyone else is paying. So, and I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, this is the lady, I'll get the job, and the first day on the job, we're going to back over a mailbox with the trailer going in the driveway or something stupid. But it's good because I already seen it coming. And so she scheduled it, and then that, I'm driving out, the navigation says, you're 3 minutes away. She calls and says, I had an emergency. I can't, I'm going to have to cancel. I said, oh, would you like to reschedule? And she's like, no. So she got me, no big deal, no skin off my back. But it showed how she was. So it's better that she never paid that $45 and I never even got to meet her or do a job with her because of that. And it was funny, about 3 weeks later, I saw on Facebook again, same lady saying, I don't understand contractors these days. I've got numerous guys came out to give us an estimate, but not one of them has gotten back to me. So that was like, okay, there's all good reason just to charge for an estimate.
Yeah.
Because I can't quote it, but I read in a book somewhere, they say like 28% of the people you meet in your life, you will never get along with. If you're stranded on a desert island with them, you'll never be able to survive together. So I always keep that in mind when I'm looking at jobs. Like, I don't need that job. I mean, yes, I have 2 kids and a wife and a mortgage and all that. I do need work. I mean, there's no doubt about it. But I don't have to get every single job. So that's a great mindset to be in. Like, just because you want this great patio and all that, we may not get along. This could be the worst. And I'm sure a lot of you have been on those jobs where it's just like, God, I can't wait to get done and out of here. So, it's more not really an estimate, it's a screening fee, I call it,
Yeah, but I mean, especially in a market like this where there's so much demand now, you need to have some measures in place, because you could spend your week running after tire kickers or people that aren't the right fit for you. Their project is too small, or they'll be too difficult, or they want something where they're going to dictate every single element of the job, but you don't want to run your business like that.
Yeah.
Like, you need to be able to be a little more selective. One of the things that you need to be able to do that is to be able to have more demand than you can handle. Like, you need to be able to say no, and to say no, you need to have, 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, 10 times as many leads as actual projects. Is there anything that you do for marketing for your business that is really impactful that you would recommend for someone in a similar position?
I guess it all goes back to word of mouth.
Okay.
That's
a form of marketing. You don't need to spend money on it necessarily.
Yeah, Facebook's free. I was the last person, like when Facebook first, I had a MySpace page. That's how old I guess I'm getting. And I went and looked at a job one time, and a guy asked me, he's like, I was like, how'd you hear about us? He goes, well, either you do good work or you got a lot of friends. And I was like, what are you talking about? He's like, well, we had this pool put in last year. My wife went on Facebook, and he's like, you were across the board. And I was like, Facebook? Like, I heard of it, I'm not on it. And he's like, what? I was like, could you show me? That was before it was like on your phone and everything. So we went to his house, and he pulled up on his computer. I was like, oh shit, look at me. So, it was like I was like, I better get one of these pages, And then, so he said, well, for shits and giggles, I went back on this year because the pool's done, we're ready to get the patio. And he goes, there you were again. It was funny, I never got that job, but I went home that night and signed on Facebook, and I started looking at all the stuff, and it amazed me that people were referring me from years ago. And I was like, wow, I guess it goes back to, you always want to do good work, go out of your way, don't skip corners, because that really got me far. And then so I jumped on the Facebook bandwagon. I'm posting jobs and that was back when GoPros, I think I had one of the first GoPros, and trying to make a video took 5 hours. I'm like, I'm done with this, but that,
it's a lot easier now.
Yeah, it's a lot easier now. So Facebook has been absolutely amazing for me, going on, all the local pages, just continually posting stuff, just not all the time. Even the Hardscape Contractors America page, some people, they're like, yeah, I signed up for that page, man. It's nonstop. People are always on it. But because they're always on it, that's why I think one of the reasons why it gets big. So as far as advertising, that's great. We keep our trucks. I thank my dad for this, but I'm OCD with keeping our trucks and equipment clean. And we do get that a lot. People are saying, wow, we see your trucks all over the place. They're clean. But, I can't tell you, we've probably never gotten a phone call from someone get my number off the truck, but
it still makes a good impression.
Oh, yeah,
even if they never saw the truck before, the day you roll up on site, if everything looks perfect condition, they feel better about who they hired.
Yeah, and then even when we tell people, I'll go on Facebook, because you start to see there's a trend now. For a while, it was when it was first starting out, I always. People recommended me. There wasn't a whole lot of people recommending other hardscapers, but now there's a big long list. So I don't even try to get out there real hard. I just sort of, one of my posts that I put on is, listen, you have obviously 20 hardscapers, landscapers, and electricians that are going to want to do your front sidewalk. It's a simple project, but and I just have a list. I cut and paste. It's Make sure they're insured. Make sure they have workman's comp on their employees. Get referrals from jobs they've done 3 to 5 years ago, and that's in capital letters, because you guys know most jobs will fail in the first year or two, and when they fail miserably, and they don't correct themselves. So if they can get referrals from jobs that have been done further in the past, and if you don't have jobs that old, so be it. You'll get there, but get the referrals, make sure they're insured, make sure you can go online and see if they're a Teco Pro or certified with other companies, or what kind of if they're ICPI certified or stuff like that. So there's ways that they can look for you can really put yourself above the rest of the people. Even when we go to estimates, I just try to educate the people on how we're going to do the job. Because everyone's going to say, yeah, I'm the best out there. I got the brand new F450, truck with the aluminum bed on it. I got a brand new excavator. They don't care about that. You just got to tell them, this is why we're doing it. This is how we're doing it. And you'll find some people, they could care less how you're going to do it. They just want to get it done because their wife's yelling at them or their husband's yelling at them saying he needs a new grill island. But really, if you really talk to your clients and get them on board on how you're doing the job. And, I joke around with some people. I'm like, listen, this is how, this is going to happen. First day on the job, we're coming in here. We're coming in with equipment. We are going to destroy your yard. Like, I'm not even going to tread lightly. We're destroying your yard. We're ripping everything apart. We're excavating down. We have to haul out 80 tons of filter. We have to haul in, 95 tons of pavers and stone. It's going to be a mess. And then it's probably going to rain 4 or 5 times, so it's going to get even worse. But at the end of the day, I guess like what Pete was saying, at 6 o'clock, it's cleanup time. At the end of the day, when we leave, yard's still a mess, but their driveway's clean. So that's like the first shocker to people. Oh, we had no, when you said this was going to happen, you weren't lying, and then, but at least they know.
Yeah. There's 2 big things with what you said there. The first one is you're not shy to put out there what people should be looking for to hire a contractor, whether it's you or someone else. That's something that's called shaping the evaluation criteria. So you're telling customers, no matter who you hire, make sure you're doing this. We do this, and other companies do too, but do not hire someone that doesn't do at least this.
Right.
So right off the bat, even though that may or may not be helping you, it is disqualifying for the customer, everyone who's not doing that stuff. So all of a sudden you're in a little bit of a rarer air because there's fewer competitors in that space. Mm-hmm. Another thing that you do is you spend a lot of time setting the expectations for the customer. Setting the expectations about how the sales call is going to go, how the excavation day is going to go, how the build's going to go, how cleanup's going to go, and that makes them feel assured. One of the things we talk about is how sales is a transfer of trust.
Right.
You're going to do a good job, but if I'm the customer, I have no idea until you start the job. I believe you do if you do a good job of communicating that to me. Mm-hmm. The only way I can really have faith in that is if you build the trust over time. The easiest way to do that is to say, I'm going to do this next, and then do it. And then I'm going to do this next, and then do it. And that's what builds that relationship of trust to the point where like, okay, you know what? He said he was going to come out on Saturday at noon. He showed up at noon. He said he was going to take some measurements and get back to us with a plan within 24 hours. He did that. He said he was going to send us a bill for the estimate, and he did that. He said he was going to give us a follow-up call within a week and present a design for us within 2. He did that, and he did that. So when it's time for you to submit the bid, you've done everything you said you're going to do. That trust level is a lot higher than if you're not proactively communicating the things that you're going to do. And that's one of the things that you seem to be good at, and that's why your customers like you. Then you go and you finish it off by doing the job really well and making sure that they're happy, not cutting any corners. Well, then the customer's really satisfied. So what's the result of that? You get positive reviews, you get word of mouth, so you get more people who are like those customers who are calling you. So it just makes, it's a flywheel effect. It just gets better and better and better the more consistently you do those little things.
Yeah, definitely. And like even going on, you always have to be in a good mood. When the customer comes out, it doesn't matter if you're like, wow, this job is already 3 days longer than I anticipated, and I bid it too cheap. When that customer comes out, you act like you're winning every day because they'll see that. And when it comes time to refer you, they'll be like, the guy's been great. He's good mood every day. I don't understand it. He's knee deep in mud. His truck broke down in the street, but he's so positive, and that really that carries through. Sometimes, I've been on jobs where I bite my tongue and I'm like, this is horrible. But keep your head up and it's you hear backstories from other people like, oh, we talked to so and so. They said you're a great guy, upbeat all the time. Mm-hmm. Everything's so that's another key thing. Always keep your head up. Never let your customers know you're having a bad day. They don't want to hear it because, they could be driving home from work and they could have gotten a fender bender, or their kid could have gotten suspended from school, or their wife could have COVID, whatever. But they'd never want to hear your story, So.
There you go. you want to take some questions from the audience?
Sure.
We don't usually have a live audience when we do this show. So, do you guys have any questions for Bob, or for me, or for anyone else? Really, you can ask each other questions if you want. So I'll just repeat so the mics pick it up, but you're saying you tell them the same thing that Bob's telling them, like it's going to get a lot worse before it gets a lot better. You think you hate your backyard now, wait till the end of day one.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And like sometimes we'll have if they have decks and we have to rip them off, and you get well, could you just give me a price just to rip the deck off separate from the patio price? Because, my husband can do it on Saturday. And it's, sometimes I'm like, yeah, it's a little more than a Saturday job, here we go. So, that turns into a nightmare. And then I try to always just talk him into, just let me do it. Or I'll just say it's a real low price to demo the decks. They're like, oh, it's only going to be that much to demo it? So, and then we come in, we have the grapple attachments and X-ray. I mean, we tear that shit up and get rid of it. It's like,
like
by break time, it's gone. It's out of there. It's on its way to the dump. And then, you get the phone call. Man, I've been watching you on my Bing camera that's hanging from my rain gutter. You guys, you're making a killing off of this. It's like, yeah, but we showed up with the equipment and got it done. But, it is funny when they come home sometimes. We're like, wow, you got a lot done today. And then you got to tell them, it's going to go slow from now on because we got to get the excavation to base. Sometimes we've had some people say, it's been 4 days now. We have all these pavers in the driveway and they haven't got touched yet. It's like, yeah, well, all the excavation work that went involved and whatever. But just the pavers, when they go down, that's bread and butter. The faster you get them pavers down, the better. But it's the preparation to get to it. So.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions, comments for Bob? Yeah, go for it. What are you doing for employee retention? Met with a laugh.
If you're looking for a job, we're hiring.
I don't think that was a question, Bob.
Yeah, no. It's hard right now. I mean, it's real difficult. That's probably a whole nother show, but. For years, I've had guys working for me, and it's been great. And then, I had a head guy for a while. His dream was to become a police officer, so I had him for a long time. Probably he started when he was 17, 18 years old till he was in his mid-20s. And then he decided, he left to go do what he wanted to do. I wasn't going to stop him, And then I had a few other guys that were with me for a long time. One, he got old, He got old, he might have liked alcohol too, that caught up with him, but he couldn't do it anymore. He had the arm braces on, the knee braces, and he was done. But I don't know, I don't have the answer to that question. I mean, you can pay them well, you can do whatever, you can become friends with them. I've tried it all. But really, it all changes with the times.
Do you think equipment plays a role in it though? Because you have a lot of
equipment,
and a lot of good equipment too, like even just like grapple attachments on the excavators and stuff. Like you can sit in the machine for a long time and get a lot done on one of your sites.
Yeah, that's a big difference too. Like the equipment, we invested in the suction equipment. When the clamps first came out, setting the broken steps. We did one job and we had, the ratchet straps around them and then slide them out. And that lasted.
That's a recipe for disaster.
Yeah, that lasted a day. And I was like, I'm never doing this again. Mm-hmm. So went out and it's like, oh, that clamp's $800 for a clamp. And then all of a sudden we're doing the Aberdeen pavers, 30 by 30. That lasted a day too. Not sitting in another one of these. I'm overnighting one of these clamps. And then the suction came out. So all of a sudden it was a lot more, people on the job were more happy. It's like, oh good, we don't have to go pick them up and try to drop them in the sand and then pick them back up because they went in funny. Now it's, now it's, when do I get to drive the excavator? I'm like, you're kidding me, right? I've worked my whole life to sit in this seat. And you're going to take it away from me? All right, But
I think
have a lot of boys. That's
breed your labor, is that what you're saying?
Yeah. It seems
I don't know if that's a sustainable strategy.
Yeah, yeah. I don't, see if your neighbor has a lot of boys. I don't know.
But I think like the equipment, like we said, plays a role in it. I think
huge role.
some of the things that we talked about in the show today also, like just things as simple as having those toolbox meetings in the morning, and then checking in at 10, checking in at noon, checking in at 2. It may not seem like it's doing anything, but it is improving the communication amongst the team on site. Everyone has an opportunity to exchange ideas and communicate and provide some feedback on what's going on. And so much of it is how you make the people feel on your team. Money talks for sure, for sure. Personal days, vacation time, that stuff works, absolutely. But you can always make more money somewhere else. You can always get better work conditions like perks and insurance and stuff. You can always get that somewhere else. What keeps people around is because they believe in what you're trying to do as a company. They want to work together with you. They enjoy working with you. They feel that they're growing. They feel that they're learning, and it's a right fit for them. The only way you do that is by talking with them a lot and by building those relationships and treating them like people. And when you have those conversations, that's when you discover like, oh shit, like we really do need to get a clamp like that, because these guys are tired of smashing their fingers trying to drop 400-pound Roca steps into this place with moving straps. Doesn't make any sense. So all of a sudden you're like, okay, well if I can have these 2-3 guys on my team happy for a $500 clamp or an $800 clamp, that's doable. How many times are we gonna lay these steps this year? Well, we got 5 more jobs with these steps. There's 4 steps on each job. I buy these steps for $100 each. If I just sold that job for, I don't know, $100 more on the job, it's a $20,000 job. Make it $20,100 or $20,200. Within a couple weeks, the tools are paid for, and your guys are happier because you listened to them and they were part of the conversation. I think that's the biggest thing that we miss in our industry, because it's so much about just get shit done, that we don't have those conversations. We don't stop and talk in the morning. We don't stop and talk at break and at lunch, and those little 5-minute things. It was the biggest thing that came out of the filming of the job that you guys saw here. When we had the downtime, when I had to get in front of the camera and do the little song and dance that I have to do, all the rest of the guys were talking together. They're like, okay, we're here, we got this done, now we got to do that, now we got to do that. Okay, so the 3 of us are going to do this, you 2 go do that. And everyone had a game plan like every hour. They knew what the next thing was. Before you know it, the day's done and you feel like you accomplished something, because every hour you're checking in. What are you going to do now? I'm going to do this. An hour later, how is it? It's done. Great. And just, when you have a checklist and you just check things off, how good that feels? Well, give that to your team all day. And that makes a big difference. I don't know if that answers that question. That's my 2 cents on it.
Yeah.
You want to add anything to that?
No, it's about right. Even when it comes to like your equipment, like I remember I used to have this old F350 utility body, holes in the floor, an exhaust leak, and they're complaining like, man, that truck stinks. I'm like, it's good, not even paying attention, like, it's good, don't worry, I got stuff to do, like, I'm not worried about getting that truck fixed, it's running.
Yeah,
but be happy with it. And then one winter, something happened, I wound up driving it. I was like, oh, this thing is absolutely horrible. I'm dying right now. Like, I can't believe they would drive this. But if I were to listen to them for 10 minutes, I mean, like, oh, because it was like an old, used to have a PTO, like a controller for a spreader on the back, and we made it into a utility body, but I never plugged the holes in the floor. I mean, I could have just welded a plate over it or put JB weld over them, but I wasn't listening to what they were saying, and it was pissing them off.
They're people.
And,
They're people too.
I'm just thinking, I'm like, whatever, but you really got to listen to your employees. You really have to. I mean, otherwise they'll walk on you so fast, and you'll be like, well, why'd you go? Mm-hmm. I had one guy, he told me, he said, when he started, he's like, I'm never going to, don't ever ask me to shovel snow. Yeah, no problem, whatever. And it was like one winter out of the blue, we had a quick snowstorm early. We're running home from work trying to put plows on the trucks, and we only have 2 plow trucks, and we needed probably 4 or 5 at that time, but that's all we got running real quick, and preparedness. And so wound up, he shoveled snow, and I remember he came up, he's like, Bob, and I was like, yeah, he goes, I'm done, can you take me home? I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, we're almost done, we're out of here, I'll buy everyone dinner. He's like, no, I told you I was never going to shovel snow. And he left because I made him shovel snow. Granted, you know, he did leave for some other reasons because he didn't have a driver's license. He got it back, so he wanted to start his own company. But that was his be-all, end-all. Like, I made him shovel snow, and I was like, I'm out here next to you shoveling snow. You think I want to be shoveling snow? I want to be in the truck with the exhaust leak.
Yeah,
you know?
but you have a lot more on the line than he does. It's your company. You're like, I'm just going to get whatever has to be done.
Yeah.
Not everyone's going to feel that way.
Yeah, I'm not saying that you know, like I said, I don't think that's the true reason why I left, but that's what pushed him over the edge, you know? But, you know, that was one of those fluke things. It's like sometimes you do got to step up the bat, you know? But, yeah, really, anymore, there's a lot of holding hands and, are you okay today? So.
There's a line between the two. We don't need to go that far.
Yeah, because I am a little more old school, like, suck it up, buttercup, you know? And my wife has told me I'm too rough on my kids sometimes, but they're pretty tough now. Yeah. But they, sometimes you really gotta, you know, it's like every day it's a new job title. It's like, oh, I gotta be a psychologist today. I have to be a bookkeeper tomorrow. I have to be a computer tech the next day. I have to learn to control my anger management, you know. So
it's a job on its own.
If you don't want to do all that and think it's fun, wrong business.
Yeah, well, there's definitely no shortage of challenges. Bob, obviously the Facebook group is Hardscape Contractors of America.
Correct.
You're still personally screening every application to the group, so it's a private group on Facebook. So for anybody listening or anybody here who wants to get on that group, there's literally posting all day, every day. People across the country are posting things, different ideas, different questions, different topics. So if you haven't checked it out yet, be sure to check it out. And if you're new to the show, you haven't listened to the show before, we're coming up on our 40th episode really soon here. It's Hardscape Growth right there. You can listen on Apple, iTunes, Spotify, or check it out on hardscaper.com. Bob, thank you very much for joining us on the show today. All of you, thank you very much for sticking around. And that's it for today's episode of the Hardscape Growth Show. Take care, everyone. Thank you.
All right.